Hey guys! So I'm clearly still at the barn. I am in my tech room, so here we go. All kinds of exciting things in here. And I'm still at the barn, and I hope this works okay because I am doing it off my phone, not on Wi-Fi, so I hope it's okay. And yes, I am bundled up because it was cold today, and I know I can't even say that because Carol's watching and she had like 2 feet of snow. So I know everyone's a lot colder in the country than me, but it was a cold day here in Florida. So it was windy yesterday, which made for some very exciting rides. There was a lot of surviving yesterday, but everybody was good. And today was colder, but no wind. So yay for that. Couple of announcements. We have had a very busy week. Allie came. I rode my new horse, and that's exciting. More on that later. I'm still so just excited about that, but I want to do just like a different announcement about that another time. And Denali has had an amazing week as well. He is really growing up, and I will share some videos from that. We had a great lesson with Allie, and then Michael Klemke was here today. Susan Papa came yesterday to see him because we had purchased, Khaki had purchased Denali from them. So she knew him when he was a baby. So that was really fun for her to see him. And what else happened this week? We have Friday night freestyle practice. So we are gonna, Jane is amazing and this place is amazing. And so she's got lights for the outdoor. She put in lights in the cupboard. So that means we can ride all night. So that's great because I'm still here. I'm gonna tack somebody up after this. No, just kidding. So we're gonna have Thursday night we get to practice, and then Friday night we're gonna have like our own Poinciana Farm Friday night freestyle. So we get to practice our freestyles. Gary Rockwell is gonna judge. So it'll be really great to just run through. I'm gonna ride Gideon and Darby because they're the closest to showing. So I wanna sort of hash out some last minute pieces and ride through the music and, control the controllables. So I can control that I practice my freestyle in the same type of excitable atmosphere that we'll have at the horse show. So that'll be really great. And the topic for tonight, just in case you guys are wondering, is how to apply the principles to the basics. And Dawn Roth inspired us because she sent us a wonderful question. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But I have just a couple more announcements because I can't even believe this next piece is true. But we went on to TikTok. It's true. I can't believe it, but I think I love it. So we've got some really cute videos on there. So check that out. And that's going to be a really fun place to, just connect everybody again and inspire people and make people laugh and connect them to the dressage world. So it's Team Tate TikTok, so very easy to find. Make sure you go on there and like what we're doing. The horses are hilarious. So I know I need to keep doing more interviews. So you guys could write in the comments which horses you want to see next. I did Apollo's little interview, and let me know who you want me to do next, and I will definitely do it this weekend or maybe tomorrow if there's time. But let me know who you want to hear from. Freddie's hilarious. He would probably be a camera hog. Gideon has the biggest ego in the barn, but it might be a close second to Isaac. So you let me know who you want to see. and we'll get that done. So that'll be fun. And we'll just tell you what they're working on. And oh, we already got a Gideon and Shouty Caps. That was kind of my guess. And we'll probably do him because he's the most. Oh yeah, there's another Gideon. Okay, well, here we go. Gideon is like the runaway favorite. So we'll definitely, Kelly, who's the president of Apollo's fan club, would like more Apollo. So I'll definitely get those done, and I'm going to add up all of those things, so we'll figure out who wins. Oh, there's the Macho Man. Okay, so I'll probably do Gideon so you guys can see him because he's a ham. What else? The podcast went live as well. It's been like this big week. It's so exciting. So the podcast is live and on Team Tate TV. I think there's a link that the girls posted. So you can go on there. It's Dressage Life with JJ Tate. So we're going to talk a lot about things we talk about here. And yeah, all kinds of different topics about life, about dressage, about how to deal with certain things, how to approach training issues. So again, if you like what you hear on my Whine About It Wednesdays, you can for sure go on to the podcast as well. And yeah, we're really excited about that, and that is a lot of fun. What else is happening? Oh, literally, we are 20 people shy of 4,500 people. So we got 20 more to go, people. And then that person will get a free working student Team Tate Academy subscription for a whole year. So tell your friends, get everybody on here because we're just so proud of the Academy and we're so amazed. I mean, I'm amazed. I'm like so just moved every week. Some of these messages and emails and text messages I get from, it's really making a difference for people at home with their horses. And it just makes me so happy. Wow. I mean, just so great. So you guys should all check that out for sure. And and we got a really fun thing going on for the Academy members only. But if you're sad and feel left out, we're having another launch in March. So mark your calendars. It's going to be around the new moon, starting on, I think, my birthday, or around my birthday on the 9th of March. And then like going through that week. Maybe it starts on the 13th. I'm terrible with dates. But the girls will get us straightened out. But the next launch is in March. So if you're feeling left out, you can still join. But we are going to have our first Team Tate Academy Challenge. So all the Academy members will be getting notified what the challenges are going to be. And then we're going to share the best ones on Team Tate TV. So that'll be really fun to get everybody engaged. And we've got some really fun ideas. So we can't wait for you guys to join in on that and join in on the fun. And yeah, it's going to be great. So tonight, the topic is going to be how to apply the principles to the basics, because Dawn Roth had written in a question and she loves the videos. She loves being in the Academy, but she's wondering how can she apply those ideals and what she's seen on a young horse that is very green and, you know, she's not doing canter half passes yet, you know. So how do you apply all these interesting principles that she's listening to and reading about and seeing in the educational videos in the Academy? And so I thought I would talk about that tonight, because everything comes down to basics. I mean, that's just life, right? I mean, I love that saying that says, all I really need to know I learned in kindergarten, you know, say please, say thank you, you know, hold someone's hand, be kind, you know, just the regular way of living in a conscientious, kind way. Like we literally learn that as basic stuff in kindergarten. And so it's never not about that. I always tell this story because sometimes I'll have some students, you know, I'm a Grand Prix rider and trainer, and So sometimes I'll have some students that's like, oh, oof, I'm sorry, this is so basic. We're talking about sitting the trot or putting the horse on the bit or like whatever seemed basic, so basic that this little lady needed to apologize for having it be so basic. And at the end of the day, it always comes down to correct basics. So never feel bad or insecure about that the lesson is so basic, because it always comes down to that. In 2018, we hosted the WEG team at our farm. So they were preparing for the World Equestrian Games in Landrum at our farm, and then made their way over to Tryon to, compete at the WEG. And I remember Robert Dover was down in the arena. I think it was Laura Graves who was riding, who was like near the top ranks in the world. And he was like, on the bit. The horse has to be on the bit. And I just was like, I will remember this moment forever to tell any of my students at any time. I mean, it's never not about being on the bit. And it's never not about having the horse swing forward with active hind legs up to the contact, taking you somewhere. Like that, it's just all a matter of relativity. Like, is that to get a better piaffe and passage? Is that to get a better canter depart? Like, it's always about those basics. And we have to keep things as simple as possible, because of course, simple does not mean that it's easy, but it has to be kept simple. And even today, I had a wonderful lesson with Michael Klemke. I hope he's watching tonight. And we're going to get him on here for an interview very soon. But it was, I needed that little like German kick in the butt, like go forward. He's not taking you enough with the hind legs. He needs to be more active. And it's so easy to just get caught up in what we're feeling and what we're doing. And, he's strong here, or he's not bending enough. And I was like, the horse needed to go forward. So make sure you always keep that. And that's like basic, quote unquote, that's very basic. But that's going to produce that horse eventually into the top levels in the Grand Prix. And so it's never not about that. So I wanted to talk directly about Dawn and her situation and how to apply some of the principles in the academy. And I just wanted to take a couple examples of, Dawn was saying that her horse is very young and struggles to even keep a canter. And how can she apply those concepts to a horse that is so young, that is struggling with just being able to keep that canter? And I would say it's completely normal in that early stages that you have to build up that stamina and build up that horse's ability to keep gait until further notice. That's a wonderful thing that Charles would always say. Charles DeComfy, my mentor for over 30 years. He's always got these wonderful phrases, and I'll use a few of them tonight. But that, the horse needs to keep gait until further notice. And it isn't so much only the feeling that we have in our hands and in the contact of like, what is self-carriage? Self-carriage is that the horse is also self-going, and that it can keep the gait until you tell it not to do that anymore. And so that's something I always keep in mind with like my young horses. I have a coming 5-year-old named Frederick, baby Freddie, and he's very overwhelmed by the atmosphere here. There's a lot of horses, there's mini bikes next door, there's exotic animals on the other side. It's a lot. And he's like overwhelmed. And so every day we have to lunge him or long line him. And then it's about getting him to the business. And it's really easy for me to be like, I'm not working on anything. But there's such a part of the discipline and the structure for a young horse that really shapes them into, you know, who they are. They like to change the subject a lot, and Freddie especially is very busy in his mind, so he's got a lot going on upstairs. And there's Richard, who says he is no baby anymore, because I call him Baby Freddie. But he's really maturing, and it's from that structure of that ride. And then when you are in the academy and you know that, you know, the proper warm-up with, I show it with Gideon, is about stretching the horse down, going really forward. I always like the 3 Fs. So free, forward, and flowing is something I go for in my warm-up with all my horses. And Gideon does a great example of what I'm looking for, and sort of like the ideal is of course what we would put on the video, but that doesn't mean everyone looks like that. Gideon just happened to be the best example because he's the super pony, so we put him in there. But it took him a long time to learn to stretch down. But again, going back to the 3 Fs, I want the horse to be free. And by that, I mean free in his mind, free in his body, and free to move. I want the horse to feel excited to go forward and free to do so. So my seat is in a place that he can take me because I'm gonna go with him. I'm not like constraining him and holding on so tight that he feels he can't go forward. I'm not so tight and worried. I'm open and loose and ready for him to take me. So that's so much about the free. Forward needs to be not only that he's taking me forward, but he has to be forward as a state of mind. And for that horse that is not thinking forward as a state of mind, that one you have to push forward. And so that's a little bit for Dawn, that could be part of why the horse doesn't want to stay in the canter, because she's not really thinking forward yet. And so, of course, then we get to the flowing part, and that's got to do a lot more with balance, which for me is really the 3rd piece. He has to be free, he has to be forward, and then I come into the flow. Can I change directions without losing balance? Can I change gait without, you know, something happening in the contact? Is the horse free, forward, flowing, you know, in that warm-up? And for my young horses, that's my ride. It doesn't go any farther than that. For my Grand Prix horses, you know, now we gather up the reins a little bit more, put them a bit on the hind leg, sharpen them up to the aids, and then go work on the things I wanted to work on that day. But with my baby horses and my young horses, and if it's not easily happening in my warm-up, then I spend some time on that to create that. So like for Freddie, his time to get free forward flowing is on the lunge line. And so even though that doesn't look anything like the video with Gideon, it's completely the same concept. It's just applied in a little bit different reality because Freddie's not there yet, you know? So I want you to be able to take a lot of those concepts in the academy and water them down if you have a young horse or a green horse. I mean, I've trained all kinds of horse. I know on my bio it says, oh, I've competed, you know, 30 horses at the Prix St. George and higher, you know. But I've also trained Percherons, Fjords, Arabians, Basker Curly crosses. I mean, horses that could not canter, you know, lots of horses, big horses, little horses, fat, skinny, all the kinds. Head throwing up, head pulling down, running me into the wall, holding me there. So we've definitely over the last 20 plus years, 25 years, have seen a lot. And so Dawn also said that her horse wasn't very fancy. And so she wasn't, what did she say? She was sort of an average mover. And I have something to say about that because every horse can learn to move better. And every horse can find a better athletic way of developing and producing themselves. And so it's important to be okay with, a lot of times, okay, we want to buy like a fancy horse and always buy a good walk and canter. You can build a trot. But even an average mover will change a lot. And that's what we're looking to do. Charles de Comfy always instilled it in me that you first have to make an okay horse move good. Then you can teach the good horse to move great. And then if you're lucky enough to get a great horse, then you make it phenomenal. But the principles don't really change. And yes, maybe the great horse is built easier for the job, or Denali, for instance. Denali is black and he's beautiful and he's a good mover and he's imported. He is directly kitty corner in the stable from Isaac, who is not imported and was a rescue horse in the mountains of Tennessee, starved with no tail, being used in devil worshiping. But that horse is showing fourth level and learning to piaffe and learning to canter on his hind legs and getting to know what a pirouette feels like. And it's just as big of a thrill to feel Isaac start to really start trotting, because whoa, that horse is using all of himself and giving himself to me. And that's the thrill that is so incredible about any of it. We really, I'm clearly too tall for Isaac because he's 14'2". So, and I'm 5'11". So, it's a thrill to be on a young, talented horse like Denali, who's also got a lot to learn. They've all got their things. Denali struggles with bend. Isaac struggles with engagement because his croup is higher than his shoulders. Darby struggles with making his neck long. Apollo deals with being a total spaz. Freddie's mind is too fast. You just go down the line. Gideon was strong. He is also little. He's 15 too, but he was like a little tiny Mack truck. And I was like, how are you one of the smallest horses in my barn? And you were like the strongest. Montana had no neck when I got him. And it's like, wow, you would not even believe that his neck was tough and skinny. And so you just have to, again, always have an imagination, not only of what you hope it could look like, but what it might feel like. And always keep your eye on that prize to say, today, did I get, even if it's only one tiny little centimeter, did I get 1 centimeter closer to what I want it to feel like, what I want it to be like? And then eventually what it will look like. Horses take a long time to develop muscles and develop fitness. And I think a lot of times when I have my young horses, when we talk about, again, a different principle to apply to a young horse who doesn't want to keep cantering, we got to go back again to that circle of the seat. What is happening in your seat? And it was interesting because Dawn right away blamed herself. And she's like, well, I'm sure it's probably something I'm doing. But it's like, if the horse is just weak, you can't do anything different at that moment. You just have to keep building that horse up into a stronger and better athlete with good understanding of what you want. But so you want to apply that idea of the circle of the seat. Some young horses need a lot more driving seat. Some are all over the place and they need a bit more structured seat. or a little bit more stability in the seat, so they can find their balance a little bit better by your stability and clarity of your seat. A lot of my young horses, need to just be driven a lot more forward. And sometimes you have to, as Michael would say, pick up the pace. You need to get a bit more forward and have more pace. And I love that, because that reminds you of like, yes, I need to get the hind legs a bit more awake. Then, I have literally found it with a lot of young horses that the only exercise in the canter is to just purely canter. Like, that horse just needs to get better and stronger by cantering. And depending on what kind of rider you are, maybe you need to do some of that on the lunge line to build the fitness and the strength. Maybe you need to have your trainer ride twice a week to help push the horse past their point of struggle and not take that horse's idea when the horse is like, oh, I think I should trot. We can't always go with that and say, nope, you should put in a little bit more effort and canter one more half circle. That's how I train my horses. Like, I feel them struggling, and I feel them saying, uncle, like, I'm tired, I can't do it. And I said, I hear your struggle. Can I get 8 more steps or 5 more steps, so that there's not this big, like, blah, this fall down, into the trot and a big break. I always want to make it that it's my decision. Oh, there we go. We're back on again. So that the horse really feels like I can drive it and it can make the effort to keep doing that. So I think, we have to really think about like every action and a reaction, and how we respond, is really training the horse. And so there are some horses where a long time cantering is exhausting, and that's okay. I would then make that kind of horse canter 10 steps back to trot, another good 10 steps back to trot, and see if I can add another set. Like when we're exercising, sometimes we do, 3 sets of 10 reps. You kind of got to think about that same thing sometimes with the young horse. And sometimes just picking up the correct lead is a great thing, and that needs to be rewarded. A lot of times with my young horses, I use a lot of voice, because I find if I'm petting them too much or leaning forward, I, really disrupt their balance. And so I'm really positive with my voice, like, yes, good job, or keep cantering. And then it's like, no, like, keep going. Because I need to be able to find the best way to create the best lesson for them. That eventually, like, I know you're tired, but you have to still give an effort. Sometimes with a young horse, doing short sets of better quality can also be, really great as well. Something that Charles de Comfy has always instilled in me is that every horse has their own Olympics as well. So there are the horses that actually are going to go to the Olympics, and that's like the big dream. And that's awesome, and that's great. For some horses, cantering 5 circles, 3 circles, 1 circle, can be a huge accomplishment. And it's not to be like, well, because this horse is terrible and has no talent. And it's like, it has a hard time cantering. Okay, we help it learn to canter better. Many times, many things that go wrong with the canter because it's the only naturally bent gait. A lot of times the horse has trouble bending. It's not really a cantering problem. Canters around the field in the pasture with its friends, no problem. So a lot of times it's about being able to canter in balance, which for canter entails needing some bend. So many times when I have horses that won't pick up a lead or can't keep a lead, It's a lot more about the ability to bend in that direction than it is even fitness of cantering. So keep that in mind as well. But I want you, and again, it could be another horse's Olympics might be going to the horse show and acting like a mature adult horse, like a citizen and not a hoodlum. And that's a win. You know, we've got to always have these little wins that, you know, I always say, you know, and everyone who's out in the arena with me always know I say, progress. There was progress today, you know, and maybe you accomplished that horse's Olympics that day. But then it's important to pick the new Olympics. What's the next Olympics? What is the next big hurdle you want to get through? And how to celebrate the tiny little pieces, inch by inch, that help create that final accomplishment. And you want to string these things all together that, oh, we did that. And I thought that was impossible. I mean, I remember training a young horse named Tate. And he was, I mean, talk about like cantering. Like, we had a giant indoor when I lived in Wisconsin, and we had Wingate Dressage Center. We have a giant indoor steel arena. It was awesome. And I mean, the horse would canter down the long side, like U-necked above the bit, out of control. I mean, he was cantering and I could sort of steer, but it did not feel good because I felt like I was like in a canoe a bit. And I thought to myself, and I at the time I'd had Donovan and Will, Grand Prix, and Body was like pre-St. George. And then there was Teague, who was like young and giant and a hammock. And also had a really good buck. So that was also great. And I remember thinking today, this day, whatever year it was, 2002 maybe, I thought, oh, I think I'm back. So with Teague, it was so hard to canter that thing. I loved him. And he was my young horse. It was like part of my process to learn how to teach young horses. And I thought, today, I think and feel with every fiber of my being, it is going to be impossible to canter this horse down this long side and canter a 10-meter circle in the middle side and then keep cantering. Today, that feels impossible. I feel like that's never going to happen ever, because the canter was so big and he was so out of balance and U-necked and like, oh, it was so hard. And I remember that day. That felt like that would never happen. And I should have written it down. I should have journaled about it, but I didn't. Years later, I cantered that horse down the long side. I did not even need that circle. I cantered him at place at B, uber striking on both reins, and cantered out. And I thought, well, I'll be damned. I thought that was going to be impossible. But through the training and the time and the thoughtful program and the skill building and the strength building, by golly, he was able to do it. And so I remember every day when I'm like, that seems really impossible. I remember that time. And I was like, build it up. Believe in it. Think about it. Plan your way. Believe it's possible. Be smart about your program. And you might be amazed what you can achieve. So I hope you guys found that helpful. And yeah, tell your friends to join Team Tate TV. Listen to the podcast. Join us on TikTok. And yeah, I'll see you again real soon. So make it a great night, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.